let's get into some rankings here. I saw a lot of tweets say rank the Star Wars live action shows. So I tweeted, we'll do this. We'll do it live on my mom's basement. The shows being The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka. I think I speak for both of us when I say The Mandalorian would be number one. It was the show that brought the fandom back together after the sequel trilogy, where as soon as we saw that adorable baby Yo face at the end of episode 1, we were back together. The people that hated The Last Jedi, the people that loved it. And yes, there have been some episodes like the Lizzo one or the Bobby Cannavale son one that I didn't enjoy. But I think for the most part, The Mandalorian is some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten.
Co-sign. The highs have been extremely high. The lows have really not been that low, and it has Baby Yoda one.
Yeah,
with
come
a
on,
bullet.
introduce Baby Yoda to the galaxy.
Yeah, and because I know what 2 is, and we love 2, but it's also like this has also longevity with multiple seasons. Even just the sound, the woo,
Yeah.
and there have been some fun, good moments, especially without there was this quote unquote, you heard a million times, spaghetti western, where the first few seasons did have so many just individual things, but now that they're really growing and expanding it, I'm going to just say, I think Mando might have saved the Star Wars universe, because think about where Star Wars was before that came out, and man, it was some dark times, dude.
It was dark times. Now, next, I would go Andor. Would you agree with that?
100%. And it's almost easier to tier these than rank them, because I think this should be tier 1 with Mando. I think it's in the same tier. It is Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Justin, I'm going to do my sports one. Yep. Mando, Jefferson had that extra season. He has some of the bigger numbers, and in this case, that's Baby Yoda. But Andor, Jamar Chase, same college, right behind him. Awesome. Pound for pound, it's like Baby Yoda's number 1 because he's so cute and he's just so awesome. But some of the characters in Andor I might have above Mando, because again, Mando low-key stinks at fighting. He's not Pedro Pascal to me because he never has his mask off. Like, you guys think I'm crazy for that. I see him as Oberyn, and I see him as Last of Us. What's his name in Last of Us? Joel. So I see him as those guys before Mando, because for all I know, he's not even in the suit. So because of that, Andor, who's the dude we love? Luthen. Good. I dance with ghosts and nightmares or whatever. Just great lines. Mon Mothma's crushing it. So I'm with you. And Andor's a bullet for you, right?
Yeah, I think it might even be able to be called the best made Star Wars show. Like, if you were to say, it might be the one I recommend the most to a non-Star Wars fan, even, where I'm like, Mandalorian is a little, you get a little goofy, you get a little taste of everything in the Star Wars universe, but this is just like a legitimately great, gritty spy espionage show that feels like it's made more for adults than anyone else.
You know what I would almost say? You can't say because they're both TV shows. Mando is like a movie, Andor is like a film. Right?
Yes.
It's like those can mean the same things, but they're completely different in my mind.
Yes. And I still prefer Mando. Like, Mando, the Baby Yoda stuff, that is like peak Star Wars for me. But Andor is just like you said, it's cinema. It feels real. So Andor, and then I would put Ahsoka right after it. I think Ahsoka is so good, this one season of Ahsoka, that I would put it up there with like a really good season of The Mandalorian. I thought the way that they really, like I said, stepped on the coaxium in episode 4 and really just revved it up and made the world building what it needed to be. Made Thrawn, I think, an exciting villain in being someone that really didn't do much. Like, he didn't have anything to do, but he was still imposing and he still had his presence felt on this series. So I'd put Ahsoka there. Would you?
So I have Ahsoka 3 as well.
Yeah.
This is odd though. It's kind of weird to do it, but I almost have it as tier 3, and there's nothing in tier 2. Where I think there could be a show better than Ahsoka, but not as good as Andor. And I think there's like a whole range of that. And this is also someone that is coming in without all the Rebels background, so a lot of this stuff was probably lost on me. And I imagine a lot of other people as well. So I do think tier 3, probably in its own, with the other 2 being below it. But I think it's clearly number 3 because it didn't have the low points that these other 2 had.
Yeah, and then the other 2 are Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, and it's tough to rank one over the other for me, because if we're tiering them, I would put them in the exact same tier. I feel the same way about both. Where did I think they were overall bad shows? No. I think there was a lot of good in there, but there was also a lot of filler in each that was so unnecessary. And I think both might have been better off if they were a movie or a Disney Plus special feature in some way. Now, if I look at the peaks of each, Obi-Wan had that awesome Vader fight at the end, and he also had that great Vader scene where he's snapping necks in front of kids. Book of Boba Fett had 2 amazing Mandalorian episodes hidden in it. It's the magazine inside of the book, like we said. I would go Boba Fett over Obi-Wan simply because of those Mandalorian episodes. I think that's the only thing that gives it the edge. Otherwise, I would say they're about the same, but I would go Boba Fett, then Obi-Wan.
I'm with you too. I have Boba Fett 4, Obi-Wan 5. And again, these could probably even be tier 5 shows, because I do think there could be shows that are worse than Ahsoka, but better than them as a whole, and I'm not saying that's like bottom tier, but just out of what we had so far. Book of Boba Fett was saved by the magazines of Mandalorian. Those 2 episodes were awesome. I do think there is a chance if you take those away, which is unfair to do, you could say Book of Boba Fett was worse because we had higher expectations. When they did the throne room at the end of Mandalorian and you see them in there, you're like, oh, that is so bad. They had so much just goodwill and potential story just baked into it, and they just kind of just and the Spy Kids stuff was just weird. It was just weird. But Obi-Wan also had the Leia chase scene, which was just weird. So that's
and the hiding in the coat.
Yeah, 3 kids hiding in the coat kind of stuff.
So like they each had some scenes where it was like, oh, I wish that wasn't in it. Yeah.
They almost are better to exist, because then if you criticize Ahsoka at all, you're like, it could be worse, guys. And again, if you watched, if you just take out those Mandalorian things, I think we would have lost I think I would have lost my. I mean, they lived in the flashback to tank for like 3 years.
And they just they showed us how badass Boba Fett could be in the Mandalorian, and then they set him up to be like a warlord. They're like, Boba Fett is going to be a gangster warlord running Tatooine. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And then they made him a cop, which was the weirdest. He was like the mayor, but he wanted everyone to follow the laws and the rules. And it's like, but you're Boba Fett. What are you talking about? And it had some good moments, like when he killed everyone at Toshi Station, when he killed the people that took the Slave One from him, right? Or when he killed them with the Slave One, the biker gang. When he got out of the Sarlacc, that was crazy. It's like it had moments. When he rides the Rancor, that was cool. But yeah, it just had a little bit of an aftertaste that you're like, don't love the taste that left in my mouth, but it was all right.
And again, hopefully these are the 2 worst shows we see in Star Wars. It'd be like they were still trying to figure out their footing and all that kind of stuff, which I think is fair. I mean, it's like you could criticize it all you want, but it's also like they're trying to figure it out just as much as we're figuring out getting. And listen, not being at 3 a.m, good idea. Oh, yeah. Shout out to us for fixing all that. It's just crazy. As I was watching it last night, or right before I watched it, I just thought, I was like, how the fuck did they honestly think this was ever going to be a good idea? And there was no hype around it. No one could go on at 10 p.m. and be like, holy shit, this just happened. That's the other thing. I knew this Ahsoka. I knew I wasn't alone in being a little underwhelmed or just not enough happened and I didn't miss it, because usually you just get the replies, right? It's like, holy shit, this was awesome. People were like telling me they were crying during one of the episodes a couple episodes ago in Ahsoka, just seeing all this brought to the screen. We did not get that. Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan definitely did not do either of those as well, but they did have their highlights. They had their moments, especially the Vader shit was very cool. I'm going to go back and listen to those podcasts and be like, we were just trying to make everything, chicken salad out of chicken. This also has to be said about these Star Wars shows and the Marvel shows that have already been on. We've talked about it in the past, and I'm saying it one more time, and it's hammered home with Gen V, which we will do some sort of stuff with at some point. Gen V, The Boys, every single episode stands alone, is entertaining. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it continues on to the next episode. It is so good, and it really does make me upset that Star Wars and Marvel has not figured out how to just emulate this formula. And I know it's like you can get away with more with Gen V because you're not beholden to these same massive universes. And I know you can go like R-rated because you don't have Mickey Mouse in charge of everything. But I could watch any episode of The Boys and be entertained. If I watched like episode 3 of Obi-Wan, there's a chance I want to like shoot myself with a blaster in the head. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they definitely could put together better standalone episodes. So many of the episodes felt like setups, in not just in Ahsoka, in any of the Star Wars shows, feel like, oh, this was just to get us to next week. The boys and Gen V, especially, they never really feel like that. You never get a setup. Every episode is just its own unique story. And I think they could definitely do a better job of that. Hopefully, Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte did a better job of that, or Andor season 2. I think Andor season 2 is filmed. I've been getting tweeted like a blurry trailer. Someone took a video of the trailer at Star Wars Celebration, and it's been getting out there. But yeah, that was the Ahsoka finale review. Now,